What is up, y'all? It is your host, Rennie, and you're listening to another episode of the Call Me Crazy podcast. Alrighty then. So, today, I have probably my favorite guest of all time, I can confidently say. You're such a fool. You're a fool. I can confidently say, without a doubt, sorry, Mom. She's runner-up, though. You know she's runner-up.
Yeah, no doubt. She created you.
Yeah, or whatever.
Brought you into this world.
Or whatever. So, although contrary to popular belief, you are not my father.
Strangely enough, no.
Yeah, strangely enough, no. Because the way it all worked out, you'd think there could be a possibility.
A lot of my friends thought so.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, this is my godfather, Tom Day. What is your favorite thing to be called?
For dinner. No. No. It's funny, but I do like when you call me TT.
TT? Yeah, so...
Yeah, but that's really only for her. For the vast majority of people, Tommy Day, believe it or not, seems to be a comfortable thing that people say.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hey, Tommy Day.
Yeah, no, it definitely rolls off the tongue, and gosh darn, if I've ever heard someone's name being worn out, it's gonna be yours.
Yeah, I mean, you know how the triplets, they're like one of the first things they learned how to say was, Mama, Dad, Tommy Day.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Because for me, the reason why I call you TT is because I couldn't get Tommy, right?
Maybe your mom just kind of guided you to TT. Yeah.
That's a question for her, for sure. She probably won't have the answer, but...
She doesn't remember.
She doesn't remember. Mm-mm. But yeah, so this is my TT. This is my godfather. He is the closest thing I've ever had to a father figure in my life. Whenever I need advice, whenever I need a hug, just when you think of all the things that you go to your dad for, that's what I go to my godfather for. So he was in the delivery room when I was born. He took me to my first and only father-daughter dance.
We went through training. We had the Lamaze training. I was there. I was like, yo, I'm going to do this. And then she had an emergency C-section.
So, out the window.
Oh, but I was glad I was there.
Yeah. So, just walk us through just like it in the briefest of ways, like how you and Mom met, and then like how you became my godfather. If there's any brief way of doing that. We're on no time rush.
No. So the short story is I was a trainer at New York Sports Club in the city.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm. And your mom walked in one day. Apparently she was a new member. And of course, she's very attractive. So as a trainer, as a professional, I approached her just to let her know, oh, hey, listen, I'm a trainer. You need anything, just let me know. Just, kind of breaking the ice, just introducing myself. And then that was it. And time went on, and she never looked at me again.
Which is quite honestly so crazy. I think. Actually, I'm not going to call Mom out on this, but.
Well, she just moved from Massachusetts, so she didn't have a lot of experience with the brothers, apparently.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly
I wasn't going to call her out on.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was definitely, systematically racist, probably, right? She still is. But I'm sure because, I mean, anyone with a diverse upbringing would have looked at you for 1 second and dropped the jaw.
I don't know about that. But anyway, all I know is she didn't look at me. And, you know, I went on and I was doing my thing. And I recall I was talking to a woman who I guess was attractive. And I found out this later from your mom that she noticed that and thought that, you know, we were kind of flirting or something. And I don't know, maybe we were. I don't really remember. I do remember the girl though. But anyway, next thing I know, I'm in my office, the fitness office, and your mom comes up to me and she says, hi, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, we chit-chat about something, and she says, she came across as if she wanted a trainer. And so I was like, so she said, when do you want to go, or when do you want to do this? And of course, I assumed she was talking about training. When do you want to start training? And I made a joke and said something like, are you talking about dinner tonight? And she said, yeah. I was like, what? What? And that's how it started.
Okay.
And yeah, the rest is history. So now, how did I become your godfather? Well, after about 2.5 years of dating, we broke up. Mm-hmm. But we remained friends, and you know, talked about, you know, who we're dating and stuff like that. I really didn't date a lot of people, but you know, your mom always had something. And then she met this guy, and they were off and on. You know, I heard the whole thing, and they were off and on for like a few years. And then she got pregnant. And he said, well, listen, I'll respect whatever decision you make. And so your mom was like, wow, okay. I know it's not the best relationship. It's not a bad relationship. It's just that, you know, we kind of keep missing each other. He's away a lot, and, you know, we just issues. But it's not bad. I'm not getting any younger. I'm like 32 years old. Maybe I should. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna have the baby. Oh wait. I didn't tell you that I'm married with 3 kids and a 4th one on the way?
Wait, that's when she found out?
Yeah, that's when she found out.
Because I didn't want to interrupt you, but you were like, the relationship isn't bad, but it's not good. We keep missing each other. I'm like, missing each other? Wow, she found out then? So they have been dating for 2 to 3 years without her knowing about...
Yes. You didn't know this.
I didn't know this, but hats off to the actor that is.
Yeah, we gotta give him a standing right there. So he broke out. You know, he didn't want any... He was scared. So I stepped in.
And at that point, were you and mom like friendly enough that it was like, we're friends and you know, we're keeping each other up to date and like we hang out already? Or was it like, I'm stepping up and now we're spending more time than we ever had as friends?
Probably that. Probably a little of both, because we still were, you know, close. You know, we still talked, and you know, we it wasn't like, hey, what's been going on?
Yeah.
You know, we were
kept up.
Yeah, kept up. So So yeah, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to be your Lamaze partner.
What is Lamaze for people at home who don't know?
Well, Lamaze is a sort of a breathing technique for pregnant women in once they start delivering, right? So there are some things you don't want to do. You don't want to hold your breath and strain and all that stuff. So until they say you got to push, but in the meantime, you have to breathe to facilitate things. This is like the Lamaze technique. Until they say push. Okay, breathe and push. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to use our training because she had to have an emergency C-section.
Jeez.
And yeah, well, all my hard training out the window.
Out the window.
And then there was Boo Banks.
And then there was me.
All bright-eyed and bushy-headed.
Bushy-headed, for sure. I came out with a full head of hair, y'all. Full head of hair. Probably as much as I got on the top right now.
I gotta pick on it. let me just, no, they wouldn't let me do that.
Yeah, and also my Asian hair at the time wouldn't have let you either. Isn't that so funny how my hair, like,
it was straight and then it curled up?
Yeah.
It was pretty quick when it curled up.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't last too long.
No.
So yeah, there's the skinny of it all.
Yeah.
For y'all.
Yeah. So then she, I guess I probably demanded that I was going to be your godfather. Yeah. There was no official ceremony, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to be the godfather. So.
Won't be anything.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you a godfather to anyone else besides the triplets?
I don't think it's official, but I think I might be not only the uncle but the godfather to my kids, or my kids. No, my sister's kids.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't think that there's like they call me uncle, so yeah. I feel like the godfather.
You embody Godfather in a way that I don't think most people do. And I feel like, well, our relationship is just unique in itself. The triplets definitely don't need you as much as, like, I need you. So I guess it's just different. But I will say, now that I'm older, I love, like, not only having you in my life as, like, a father figure, but also, like, feeling like we're besties now.
It's really cool. It's really cool how, I used to talk to you sort of like, a kid. Mm-hmm. But now it just flows like adults.
I know.
She's an adult. What?
The first time you cursed around me, I quite literally had a heart attack.
It was the only time. It was the only time.
I didn't even know what was said, but, like, you said, like, what the hell, or something. Like, it was so, like, minute, but I was like,
it was the only time.
Am I older? Have I grown?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, I don't care who I have on this podcast in the future. This is by far my favorite podcast guest. And today, not only is he my guest, but he's also flipping the scripts on your girl. Yeah.
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 You've had quite a time with stress in your life. Mm-hmm. Probably as long ago as you can remember.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yep. And I will say, picking you for this episode was no coincidence. Like I said, TT my godfather has always been a place of peace for me. He's been a place of stability and has always been consistent is a word that I used in your Father's Day card, because there's no one more consistent than you in just everyday life. Like, I don't think anyone takes their vitamins as consistent as you. I don't think...
Beth, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone shows up for people as consistently as you do. Your emotions seem so consistent and regulated. I just feel like overall you're a consistent person. Reliable, dependable. So throughout my years of struggling with what I do, as you guys know, this is the mental health series. This is the Give Yourself Grace series. And I don't take your relationship for granted ever, but especially in the sense when it has to do with my mental health, for sure.
When do you think was like the first time you heard that term, mental health?
I gotta say, it probably wasn't as early as I started subconsciously working on my mental health. So I feel like that word became like a buzzword and like something that was really popular, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay, so you were like 23. You're like 13.
Yeah. I feel like it came about when I was already aware of things, whereas I feel like I had been working on my mental health, and that was a concept prior to that, but there was no word for it at the time. I feel like, and I could be totally wrong, but when I think of third grade and I think of Mrs. Hamada and I think of our group,
as in your class, or was there a special group in that class?
Yeah, so Mrs. Hamada was my elementary school guidance counselor, who I still stay in contact with to this day.
Hamada, yes.
Yep. So our group therapy that we would have once a week, I had been working on my mental health since I was 7, 8 years old, but I don't think we used I can't remember using those words back then.
Not even self-care.
No, self-care I feel like is even
newer. Huh?
Is even newer for me, at least for me, and I only speak from my experience, because obviously people live totally and completely different in other parts of the world, and also in other parts of this country, but yeah, I feel like self-care was something that has popped up on the scene even more recently than the term mental health.
Because when I was in third grade, all I was trying to do was play with my friends and, do that. So I was not in any way, in any capacity, thinking about, stress levels or anything like that. Do you remember your earliest moments to make you think that maybe you need to check in with someone?
I feel like my earliest moments, I just remember on Hawthorne, I remember being in that foyer, right near the stairs. And I remember sleeping outside of my mom's room and having such a bad tantrum. I was hitting my head on the hardwood floor. And I think that's my earliest memory, and I don't know what age that was, but you could probably jog my memory on when we lived there. I remember I was like, I don't know if what I thought was, I don't think this is normal, but it's my first memory of something that's not normal. And I remember it if I remember correctly, I remember it being about my father. Like, why don't I have a dad? And just screaming and crying and pulling out my hair, doing things that I never saw my friends do. And I had watched many tantrums being over my friends' houses and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they never reminded me of like how I acted when I was upset.
And your mom was sleeping, and you were outside of her room, and just like, was she awake or was she asleep, so she couldn't hear what was happening, or?
Yeah, my mom would often take naps during my childhood, probably due to the things that she was doing at the time and partaking in at the time. And so, yeah, I mean, I was able to cut a lot of my hair out of my head at one point. I don't know if you remember the bag of hair Mom used to keep of mine that I cut while she was taking a nap.
Oh man, no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I cut a big chunk of hair of mine out of my head with kid scissors.
And you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I also remember.
How old were you about?
That was also on Hawthorne.
Yeah.
How long did we live there? It couldn't have been more than a couple years.
It was maybe around, well, was it 3 years?
Yeah.
I can't. It's definitely not more than that, unfortunately.
And I was younger than 6, younger than 5 then. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember that. I remember once her napping and leaving a candle on, and me taking my shirt and burning holes in my shirt. I remember doing that when she was napping. I remember I used to take spoonfuls of sugar while she was napping and crunch down on granulated sugar.
Well, I mean, that's a rite of passage for all children. Take that.
No. We had this jar of
Well, I'm
sugar,
talking about,
I'm taking this hefty tablespoon.
Oh, man.
So, just a disclaimer. We did have the house, like, kind of to ourselves there for a second, I felt like. Yeah. But this is an open door household. We've got the boys' friends coming in and out. We've got best friends arping in, arping out. And so if you hear stuff, we're doing the best we can with what we can, but we're not gonna stop. So these mics are pretty incredible. And because I've only been using them for a couple of episodes, I actually like situations like this where I get to test their abilities and really see like what it catches on, what outside noises it might, let slip in there and whatnot. But I just wanted to give that disclaimer before we get back into it.
Yeah. So anyway, you were downing the sugar. Now, what was your conscious or subconscious goal? Were you like, well, I'll show her, or were you just like, oh, I wonder, I just want to have as much?
I think like at one point or another, I had tasted what plain sugar tasted like maybe helping her with cookies or something like that. And at the time, I feel like Mom was really like focused on healthier eating, per your recommendations, some of your recommendations. And so she wasn't keeping a whole lot of like snacks or candy or anything like that in the house. So I think it was like my lack of sugar.
To satisfy the sweet tooth.
Yeah, my lack of sugar was probably what I was just seeking.
And the cutting your hair, because we all know how your mom felt about your hair.
Yeah.
Was that I'll show her, or were you just like, you didn't know what was going on and all of a sudden you said, oh my God, I can't believe I did that? Do you remember that?
I think I was, I'd like to say I do. I think I was just bored without supervision, to be quite honest with you. Yeah. Like, I don't think I was.
You weren't malicious or anything?
No, I was just literally bored. I think like the same thing with the candle. Like, I did it by accident, and then I was like, oh. My mom woke up to it smelling weird and no hair, and she literally, I remember her waking up from her nap and her being like, oh. She told me, like, at first wake up, she thought I had cancer, which doesn't make sense because in order for that to happen, you would have to go through chemotherapy.
But you know, your mom, she's just waking up.
She's just waking up, and she's my mother. Yeah. So, she thought in the duration of her nap, I had gone to chemo and back, and, and not that cancer is anything to laugh about, but yeah, I think it was out of boredom, quite honestly. I mean, I can't confidently say it was anything else, but.
So, basically from that point, when you were banging your head outside of your mom's door, to like, what did you say, like 13, trying to figure out.
Like, why am I different? I think was like my main question. Like, why... Well, yeah, why am I different? I feel like it was just the underlying question that I had because, okay, so the reason I got into Mrs. Hamada's group therapy was because I think it had to be top of third grade, which is elementary school, right? Because kindergarten, first and second, you do somewhere else. Top of third grade, we have an assembly of sorts. And at the end of the assembly, I forgot what the main topic was about, but at the end of the assembly, they go, okay, close your eyes, and we're going to ask a few questions. Raise your hands if this applies to you. Have you ever seen domestic violence before? Have you ever been hurt or touched by someone you didn't like? You know, just a variety of questions along those lines. And I don't know how they did it, but they either gently tapped us or whoever raised their hand, we all stayed. And then they put us into our groups for our group therapy that would now happen once or twice every week. Okay. So that was top of third grade. And that's when I realized, okay, like me and my friends are kind of different. And it was cool because I had friends in my group. Like friends that I had already made are now going to be in my group therapy.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like, I don't know any of these kids. It was like, oh, you too.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you too, awesome. And we all thought at first that it was like a way to miss class and cool. Like this is our period to do whatever we want. And it's actually so awesome that I feel like most of us ended up gaining something from that group that we definitely didn't go into it thinking that we would. Again, Mrs. Hamada, I still text her to this day. I'm actually hoping that she can be on this series and be the last person to wrap up this series. And we're talking about it now. She's on vacation till the 16th. But to still be in contact with the woman who quite literally kept me alive through those years is so special, and I confidently can say I might not be alive today without her.
When did you realize, oh, this is not necessarily just a blow-off period, I can get something out of this? Was that pretty much right away, or was that like...
It's funny you say that. I think it was almost right away because Mrs. Hamada is so no bullshit. Like, even when she would talk to my mom, she wouldn't even let my mom's little mask or, I don't know how I'm trying to explain it. Like, she cracks almost everybody down. Like, if I could have anyone meet my father, it would be Mrs. Hamada, because she would quite literally tear him down with not only studies, not only an introspective view into his own life, not only holding up a mirror for you as well, and doing that also eloquently and wrapping it up with a bow and shoving it up your nostrils. Like, that's Mrs. Hamada. That's Lisa Hamada for you.
I don't know if I ever want to meet this Lisa Hamada.
She loves you. She loves you. She knows about you and she loves you. But yeah, that is her approach. And she said that she has lost clients due to that approach. Not everyone wants the truth. And there are a lot of therapists who will sell you lies if you want. So, yeah.
Nice. Did you, were you ever, and you can tell me if you don't feel comfortable, but talking about like if you were diagnosed or what?
Yeah, so I think had to be around the same time, right? 3rd grade. And around that time, Mom had left me after school. So late that not only did the camp counselors who stayed 3 hours past pickup time with me in the auditorium, they had to leave. They're like 21, 22 years old. They're just trying to do a good deed. At this point, it's 9 o'clock, right? Supposed to, after school is like 6 p.m. pickup. It's 9 o'clock now. They don't know what to do, so they call the police. I sit in a precinct for probably 3 more hours until my mom comes and gets me. And it was then that I had to then see, they contacted Mrs. Hamada, obviously. I had to start seeing Child Protective Services. CPS is, I believe, maybe, yeah. I think that's what they call it, like kind of everywhere. But yeah, so I started having to start seeing CPS and then a couple of other things.
So they call it DIFUS in some places, but I don't know.
Yeah, so I had to check in with now multiple people, and I think it was then that I got my first diagnosis. I think it was, anxiety, depression, and PTSD, I think, was like the first like terms or mental illnesses that I knew of that I was dealing with. I knew I had OCD tendencies as well.
But you knew that. How did you know that?
Because I was the kid who was color coding their closet.
Okay.
My mom didn't even do laundry fast enough for me. I started doing my own laundry at a very young age and folding my own laundry because I didn't like the way my mom did it, and I didn't like the way she put it away. I also know that because my mom has never, not once in her life, told me to clean my room, and that's something I've always heard people complain about. Yeah. My mom's telling me to clean my room. I need to clean my room. You can't come over until I clean my room. I've never had my mom say that to me. If anything, 9 times out of 10, I should tell her she needs to clean her room. So yeah, that obsessive compulsive tendency, I don't have the actual embodiment of the mental illness, but I definitely have tendencies, and I later learned that it was due to the fact that I didn't have much in my control, so what I did I held really close and held on to.
Yeah, I remember when you were left, and they called me and said that you were in the precinct. We have Rennie. I guess my name was on the list, and so I was in a cab halfway there and got a call from your mom, and so I turned around, and I didn't necessarily want to talk to you while you were in the precinct because I didn't want anything to be triggered. I didn't want you to, like, I don't know what your state was while you were there, but I didn't want you to hear my voice and then kind of freak out. So I chose, even though I wanted to, I chose, maybe I thought it would be better
to just show up instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, to go back to like kind of your second question on like when's the earliest time I've ever experienced stress, literally like my first memory, right? When's your first memory? 4, 5, 6 years old. Definitely like very stressed out. I mean, I remember at 6 years old pulling the first like 90% gray hair out of my head. I'm telling you, my hair at the time was probably like, if you pull it out, it was probably like this length, and 90% of that was gray at the age of 6. And we all thought it was funny, me and my mom and her boyfriend at the time. But when I say it as an adult, it's actually very depressing.
Yeah, really.
So
what do you think is, I mean, you've been through a lot. Was there something that you think has helped you the most? Sounds like it, Mrs. Amata, from 13, or something that was said, or
you know,
maybe there's different points in your life where at this point it was this, at this point it was this.
If there was one thing that helped me during my journey and my time, I would say the people I've always trusted, whether that be you, whether that be Beth, whether that be my mom, whether that be Nairi. I've always had at least y'all to turn to. And, 4 people is more than enough for me. And then I acquired Sophie a little later in life. So I would definitely say leaning on my support system, which has changed. In what ways I've leaned on you guys have changed throughout, 8 years old to 23. But I feel like if there was consistently one thing, it would be the support of you guys for sure.
Nice. I guess what you're saying is that if you could go back and talk to that little girl, you would say it'll get better.
I would say it'll get better, and
But is there some kind of more, I don't know, a little bit more advice to take on a sort of day-to-day as opposed to, hey, just wait around, it'll get better?
Yeah, so for me, I feel like I've seen the most mental change within myself in the past year to 2 years. And I think it was simply because I started to give myself grace. I was trying to use a different term because sometimes I feel corny always inserting that term now that I've made it a thing, my thing, into a tangible product. But it is really to just give myself grace to be 110% me.
Very difficult to give that advice to an 8-year-old, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or especially a 13-year-old.
So like when I think about like what I want to do in the future, right? When I think about like the kids I want to captivate, I want to stand up there as someone and be able, because you didn't have this experience, right? Beth might have not had the experience to say, well, actually, I don't know. This is not, to say like, I've been in the psych ward and I got out. Like I used to cut myself and I have stopped. I used to want to die every single day. And now I wake up and I live, I'm saying it'll get better. I thought the toughest times in my life would have been my adolescence, because it was so hard, and for so much of my life I felt like that was what had set me back. And like, if I only had support, and if I only had two parents, and if I only had this and that, like I would have already been here by now. But it wasn't until I found myself in a place as a quote-unquote adult where I couldn't do what I wanted and I couldn't be who I wanted. And I don't know how I will convey this message, and that's why I'm doing things like the podcast, so I can get better, more tailored, and practice sharing a word like this, because I do, as the kid who grew up wanting to die, and not wanting and seeing no hope for living, I just want to tell them that there is. I just want to, like, you know, hug the little girl who's waiting at the precinct for her mom.
That's what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, I would just, yeah, I would tell her that everything that she is going through now is going to make everything well worth it if she waits enough to see. Because, like, there's kids taking their lives, like, all the time, and I could have been one. And it's crazy what I've done in 22, almost 23 years, and it would have been so sad if I didn't, if I wasn't here, you know?
Yes.
So I also just, like, want to hug kids too. I feel like there's a lot of kids who could just use a hug.
Probably one of my biggest regrets is not being able to continue the consistent visits with you, because it broke my heart when when I visited you one time and you said that you didn't remember when I was when I would read you bedtime stories. It's like, wow, those are such great times. And she doesn't even remember it. Like, the rest of her life, I know, has just been nothing but stressful. And yeah, that really hurts. When you guys moved into when you graduated from middle school. And I came over and, you know, I actually read you a bedtime story. And you fell asleep. But it was nice to kind of relive that for me. You know, it's just, you know, just that missing gap in there where we spent so much time with each other, and then, you know, dribs and drabs, you know, when I used to, you know, run along with the train.
I was just gonna bring that up, because if I could confidently say that there's something that I will not forget, it is that. And the last time my little sister came to visit me, I did it for her, and I just cried in the car after, because the way she looked at me, I was like, wow, remember how like exciting and how like sad at the same time it was to like watch you run with the train, and then when you would finally like couldn't keep up, and so like to see her face like just smiling and just so excited, and I just kept running until like I couldn't anymore. I don't know, it was such a full circle moment. I just had to go in my car and cry.
Yeah.
Because I would never forget that. I've never seen anyone else do it either. I've been on so many subways, so many trains in my life, and I've never seen anyone do that. Like I've waited for so many trains and so many train tracks and never watched someone do that on the other side. So if there's anything I do remember, it will always be you running with the train for sure. And
I'm glad you can share it. You little sis.
Yeah, and it's just like, I can't even imagine you crying and feeling bad about something when you were like the only person in my life who has ever like truly like been there for me. Like I can't imagine you feeling so upset because like you're literally the only person that like has ever shown up for me always. So I'm so sorry about that.
Well, you cannot be sorry because it certainly wasn't your fault. It would have been nice if things were different and I could have been able to spend more time,
But I am just super grateful that like, Mom kept bringing me and like, she ended up babysitting for y'all when you had your first kid, and now I have the freedom and the means to come whenever I want without Mom.
I'm very happy that my boys know you.
Yeah. I feel like I've cried more this year than I have let myself cry my whole life.
Oh, it means you're becoming free.
Yeah.
And maybe you're giving yourself grace. What does that mean?
Cornball,
what does that mean?
So give yourself grace. To me, and the first time it really meant something to me in the impactful way, because like the concept of the term has always been in my life, but the term itself didn't stick out to me until my first speaking engagement. My first speaking engagement was back in February, and I think the question was, what would you tell an entrepreneur starting out today? Like, what would be your biggest piece of advice? And I was first up to answer, and I said to give yourself grace, because something that I'm currently working on right now is being a little more humane to myself.
We are our toughest critics.
Yeah, and quite honestly, when you grow up in starvation, it's like any money that's coming your way, why would you say no? And especially with entrepreneurship, it's really hard to find where the fine line of discipline is. Because I'm thinking about kids my age, right? Some who are still in college, maybe doing graduate programs or something of that nature. And I'm thinking about kids on Adderall spending like 17 hours, 18 hours studying, like, you know, getting bags under their eyes, and I'm going to sleep at 7:30, waking up at 5:30, like getting like 10 hours of sleep. Like, I'm like, am I working hard enough? Like, I have the luxury to do, should I be staying up until 12, at least 12, working? Like, should I, like, where is this like fine line, you know, between what society tells you? And I've always been like I loved productivity. I mean, since a very young age, I'm creating lists and checking things off of it. Like, whether it's like make my bed, organize my cabinets, like small things. I've always loved being productive and getting things done. And to a fault, I've worn myself down to where I'm, you know, being mean or rude or short with the people around me that I love. I've worn myself down so much that, you know, I'm not showering, I'm not looking right. I might be going to meetings, probably not in the most presentable way. Maybe I forgot deodorant. Why? Because I'm not giving myself grace. I'm not taking a few moments to really cater to myself, or to give myself grace in the fact of, okay, I might have fallen asleep for an hour nap today. It's not the end of the world, right? You know, in another life, and a year ago, that would have been the end of the world to Rennie.
Let it out. Let it out.
So, yeah, I think that's what give yourself grace means to me, is just what it sounds like, to give yourself grace, to give yourself some slack, if you want to use a different word, which is something I don't often do, but I'm trying to practice it as much as I can, because although it's easy to wake up from an hour nap and berate myself for 30 minutes in my own head, that 30 minutes could have went to something else.
Yeah.
So if we're really a productivity princess, we could be just taking that nap, saying, okay, that's what it is, that's what happened, there's no rewind button.
Now
get
I'm
yourself
rejuvenated.
up. Yeah, get yourself up, do what you was gonna do an hour ago. What were you gonna do, Rennie? You know, so just doing more of that more positive self-talk, and just getting up and going, instead of being like, why were you so dumb to fall asleep, or why'd you do this, or it's actually Wentworth Miller had a viral clip on Instagram going around that was like, if I talked to my friends the way I talk to myself when I'm mad at myself, I would have no friends.
Yeah. That's some words right there.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, I really got to start talking to myself better. And, you know, things have gotten easier for me, for sure. I mean, I got 2 boots on my car in 1 month. And a year ago, Rennie would have put her head through the steering wheel. Rennie today did what she could in the moment to alleviate the situation, and realized that you're the one who didn't pay the tickets. But that wouldn't have mattered to Rennie a year ago.
Right.
Rennie a year ago would be, why me? It's always me. My life sucks. So giving myself grace from all angles has just made my life that much easier. And that's why I was so passionate about it, and was so grateful to Ellie when she heard it right then and there, being on the same panel, and she was so receptive to it, not only like a week or 2 later when I asked her if she wanted to do business together and to spread the word to give yourself grace. Well, since I have you here, I know that you did most of the question asking today, but what would you say give yourself grace means to you?
take a breath. Step back. And basically cut yourself some slack.
Yeah.
Because totally, what Wentworth Miller says is completely true. I talk to myself, and I've always done it the way I would never talk to a friend. But I guess the good thing is that I will talk to myself like that, but not dwell on it. All of a sudden, I'll start singing some stupid song. So maybe that's the grace. Maybe that is grace. We say mean things to the ones we love, but we love them. Mm-hmm. And then we don't. I mean, I never say mean things to the ones I love.
I was just going to argue that sentiment, because I was like, I mean, I definitely have, but it's a stretch to think that you have, but I mean, crazier things have happened.
No, I haven't. So it's basically me that I act like a jerk toward. But
do you think it's because you've never had those moments where you let yourself say mean things to the people you love that you're the worst on yourself?
That's a good question. No, I just never wanted people to say mean things to me. So I don't say mean things to anyone.
Well, you took that quintessential preschool, treat
others the way you want to be treated. Yeah.
Because I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's like it almost seems like everything goes back to grade school. Like we were just talking about it the other day. Again, if you don't know us personally, or if you haven't watched my videos before, you might not know that my godfather's a personal trainer. I used to be a certified personal trainer. But we're going back to these like childish sayings and just like these things that seem so insignificant, yet it makes so much sense. Like, okay, we've been trained to squat at a 90-degree our whole career, but then we look at a baby who squats knees over toes, and it's like mind-blowing. It's like, oh, let's just go back.
Go all the way back.
To when our brain wasn't so aware of all of the socially acceptable things to do.
That's oftentimes too much information.
Yeah. Because if we just go back to the basics, back to the quintessential, like very basics, like I think of everything. Like,
everything I ever needed to know I learned in kindergarten.
Yeah. Yeah, the fundamentals. And I think everything else after that just gets so convoluted, and that's where we kind of lose it. But yeah, thank you for being here today, TT.
Thank you for visiting my boo bangs. Let me see your cheek.
All right, ladies and gents. Well, I will say you guys are lucky folk to have gotten this much screen time of this man, because he also gets paid to be on the screens as well. Baby. When's that Dynasty?
Oh, I didn't get it.
Oh, you didn't get the...
No.
Oh, why? I thought you did. What's happening with that? What's your next something?
Let's see, I just had an audition for Gilded Age. Haven't heard anything.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't either.
I know what the Gilded Age is.
Right, but I don't know
the show. Yeah.
I think it's a new show.
Okay, nice. I know. I think that was the Met gala's theme this year was the Gilded Age.
Oh, okay. I have an episode of The Amazing Mrs. Maisel coming out in season 5, which is next
season.
fall. Yeah, next season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you got a knee surgery. Everyone pray for my man.
Monday. Yes.
when this episode goes live. So keep my Godfather in your positive and healing thoughts, because when y'all see this, he'll be getting knee surgery.
Thank you.
All right. I will see you guys later. I love my Godfather so very much. And we out.